Hello, everyone, and I'm excited to be back with another edition of my client Unstoppable testimonial interview series. And today I've got an amazing guest for you today. This is my good friend Claire. Claire, thank you for coming, and can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Clare Curtis, and I've been working with women for the last 10 years, supporting women in pregnancy, postnatally, and I also do a lot of work around trauma, releasing trauma and energy work, and from women's circles, retreats, everything women based, basically.
Yay!
big cheer for the women.
Big tip for women, and we'll
Champion of
find
women.
out a little bit more about that in a little while. And those who don't know me, I'm Julie Fitzpatrick, and as my title suggests now, I am a superconscious hypnotherapist. What does that mean? I hear you ask. Well, basically, when people ask me now what I do, I go, do you know what? I just save lives. And they say, what? But in all honesty, this is pretty much what I do, because what I'm doing with people is I'm helping them to really get unstuck from what's holding them back. But we go really, really deep, deep into the subconscious mind. So whether that be you're stuck in a cycle of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, or procrastination, self-sabotage, or physical conditions, it doesn't matter. It means that there's something, some trauma that's been held in your body that we need to free you from. So we will talk about that a little bit more through this interview as well, because as I said, this is a client testimonial. So I'm very excited. So Claire, before I get carried away and get too excited, I always ask any guests that I have on here the same question, which is, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Being unstoppable, it means to me that no matter what, you're going to keep going, and you're going to, I don't know, for me, unstoppable is learning anything I can possibly learn and everything I'm interested in. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. And if I come across challenges, I'm still going to find a way around those challenges. And I've got a goal in mind, and I'm going to work towards that. And it's also to me about expansion. So always evolving, always growing, and becoming a better version of yourself, and creating a better life for yourself and for the people around you, and just having this drive to just keep going. There's nothing going to stop you,
Wow.
literally. So yeah, that's, I
Being
guess, what that is for me.
unstoppable on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
journey.
yeah, and not letting experiences or things in your past either hold you back. So similar
Mm.
to with the work you do, similar to some of the stuff that I do, making sure that people have what they need to succeed in whatever it is that they're doing or whatever's going on for them in their lives, and yeah, not let anything hold them back.
I love that. And
Yeah,
that's actually easier said than done, isn't it? Because as you said, the work that you do and the work I do, unfortunately, we can consciously want to do things and consciously, sorry, want to make changes. But if our subconscious mind doesn't agree with us, then it just doesn't happen, does it? Because the subconscious will always win,
yeah,
which is quite sad. And that goes for the same for any goals or any resolutions or anything that you want to change, whether it's a habit of any kind, whether it's being in the habit of being stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, whether it's being in the habit of addictions of any kind, whether they can be sinister or not, can't they? It can be overeating, over drinking, drugs, but it can be just addicted to the story we're telling ourselves. And if
yeah,
that's a negative story, then we're stuck. We're stuck in
yeah.
a cycle that you feel like you can't get out of. Would you agree?
I would, yeah. I feel like we find a pattern of behaviour because it makes us feel safe because of an experience, or yeah, but we're responding in a way that we think is best. We can't get out of that loop, and
Mm.
until you have that awareness and do whatever you need to do to release that pattern from your subconscious, or sometimes it's from your body, and once you've released it, then you can start to move forward. But sometimes you need a bit of help to get you to see what that thing is, help you release what that thing is, so you're not in that same pattern. And I've done that throughout my life, and realised that points in my life I've lived very small until I started working on myself over the years, and then I feel like I've been able to become more expansive. I think there's nothing more valuable for a person than to realise that they've created a little world for themselves that isn't necessarily serving them, and finding a way or ways that are going to help them live more expansive and unstoppable.
Basically,
I love unstoppable.
I know. It's cool. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't create it. There's probably a few people using it, but yeah, that's just the choice that I made. That something came up once, and they said, "Oh, what are we going to call it?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know. It's about being unstoppable, isn't it?" And that's kind of how it started. But it's good to have a tagline.
It is, and the fact you just said you made a choice. Going back to what we were just saying, I think there's also a point where you have to make a choice to get out of a loop or a pattern of behaviour. You have to reach out to somebody to help you, or you need to find a solution to something. Otherwise, you're just going to stay stuck, and you're choosing to stay stuck if you don't make a choice to expand and evolve and learn something from this behaviour, or fall out of line of that pattern of behaviour and that habit that isn't doing you any good, and subsequently probably the people around you as well, I would have thought.
Yeah, exactly, because it has a knock-on effect, doesn't it? In the same way that making positive change has a positive ripple effect to the people around you, but equally, when you don't make that change, the negative ripple still has that impact on the people around you, doesn't it? Whether it's at work, whether it's your family, your friends. And we are an energy, aren't we? With the energy that we're sucking in from other people, the energy that we're projecting out to other people, it all gets mixed, and that's why it's not good being around negative people, because you're sucking that in yourself, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And in a moment, I want to go into a little bit about how we ended up working together and how I helped you, but also we can talk about how you helped me as well. But before we do that, do you want to just give us a little bit of your story, really, about actually, I haven't mentioned yet that we originally met in the corporate world. I mean, I think, Claire, you must have just been just a small baby, just born, whereas I was obviously a lot older. I meant to check actually what year it was that we actually met, but I know I'm a lot older than you, and
it
would
have been about 25 years ago. Yeah,
how can that
25 years ago, I think.
I mean, you must have been an embryo or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, nonetheless, that's where we met. We weren't super connected back then, but we were at an event in the summer, and Claire came up to me. She went, "I know you." I went, "Do you?" And I'm rubbish with faces and names, right? She said, "I'm not sure where. I'll be back later." And sure enough, about 10 minutes later, she said, "I've got it, I've got it." She worked it out, and it was when we worked in the corporate world. And interesting that neither of us currently were in the corporate world, but we've both got our stories. So what's your story for how you ended up doing your women's circles and doing everything for women, and how did you end up doing that?
I was in the corporate world for quite a while, and everything was ticking along pretty well. And I fell pregnant. I ended up having quite a traumatic birth experience, and lots of things happened there. A lot of things that could have gone wrong did go wrong. And then I had postnatal depression as well for 18 months. And during that time, I'd gone for a promotion. When I was on maternity leave, I went for a promotion. I thought, I'm going to go and do this job I know how to do, rather than motherhood. I don't know how to do that. And it was just all too scary and overwhelming. And I didn't realise at that point I had postnatal depression. And then when I came out of that part of my life, not long after, I thought, I need to make sure that other women don't go through what I went through. Women need to be more informed about what they're capable of, what they can do. I want more women to have positive birth experiences. I want less women to have postnatal depression and go through this kind of trauma and the isolation that I felt as a new mum. And so my journey kind of started there, really, educating women, doing birth preparation and pregnancy yoga classes and postnatal work. And then that continued to evolve. So I started to help women that had traumatic experiences, learning like the rewind technique. And around the same time, I was healing some of my own stuff. I'd already started, to be fair, years before that, but more stuff was coming up in motherhood for me. And as I was working through my stuff, I was also attending women's circles and connecting more with. I was already Reiki trained, so I was connecting more with the energy work, and it's just then evolved. So now I help women that have gone through trauma, but also just help women that are on their spiritual path and are trying to find out more about their, I call it the divine feminine wisdom and their own unique gifts. And I work a lot with energy and run retreats and that kind of thing, all focused on empowering women, because my path made me realise how little women actually know about themselves and what they should know. So the work that I do started off very kind of matter of fact. Well, this is how our bodies work. This is what we can do, and it's evolved now to become something, I guess, more whole and more rounded. I've got the science that backs up what could be deemed as quite spiritual or woo. And yeah, so the work I do is just kind of evolved from there over the course of 10 years.
Amazing. It is interesting, isn't it?
I love it.
Well, when, like we talk about how the universe or God or whatever it is you want to believe in, fate, whatever you want to call it, intervenes sometimes, that someone's put back in your path or in your path for the first time. And I truly believe that our paths had to cross at that point, because since they did cross, like I say, you've worked with me and I've worked with you. And recently I've just done Reiki level 1 with you, which was amazing. I'm loving that. So I'm still practicing that every morning, like a good girl. But the energy side of things like that are all relatively new to me in the last few years, because as a person that I worked in the corporate world in the end for 35 years, and I didn't understand about the mind-body connection. I lived my life in my head, like I think most people do, not necessarily in the corporate world, but anyone who's caught up in life, really. And this is where the stress treadmill comes in, doesn't it? It's like, oh, I've got to keep going, I haven't got time to think about anything. And this is what I teach in my group program, actually. It's all about getting people to understand that you cannot live your life in constant stress, because it will cause disease and you will get sick, whether it's psychological or physical. And I didn't know all that. Or maybe I did, but I ignored it, whatever. But I didn't follow it, put it that way. Was that the same for you when you was kind of working in the corporate world?
Yes. I was, I see now I would describe it as I was very much in my masculine energy.
Yes, I would. Yes,
Because
I didn't know what
we're
that was.
so focused, so driven, and we are maintaining this level of energy and performance that is very much linear and working in a masculine, I could call it a masculine way, but it's masculine energy, because masculine energy has like a 24-hour cycle. Women have a 28-day cycle, and our energy kind of does this. But when we're trying to work in a masculine way, that's how women can end up burning out. So we need to be very mindful, and it's challenging because there's these expectations of us. But I was very much in my masculine energy when we were working together, and just after that as well. So it's really, I can see exactly what you're saying, how we can get in these, again, it's a pattern, and it's sometimes difficult to break out of that pattern and just carve out these little moments for ourselves where we can go inwards and think, how am I actually feeling today? What do I need to give to myself today, or this week, if not today? Like, it's, the world is busy. We have busy lives. So,
We do.
and I've been fortunate enough lately, over the last few years, to really tune in more to what my body is telling me, what energy is telling me, So, I've been very lucky in that regard.
And I know, obviously, as I mentioned, that you're younger than me anyway, so you kind of understood a lot of this earlier on than I did. And I don't believe in regrets, but my only regret, if we were allowed to have them, would be that I didn't understand all this before, because I didn't start my journey of until I got made redundant in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, at 52. So it's taken me my 50s before I kind of started to get an insight into this. But since I have had that insight, it has actually transformed my life. And until you understand this and you realize that you're stuck and that you might not even know what you're stuck with, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing that you need to make change, and that's the biggest thing to do, to know that something's not right, to know that there's elements of your life that you're not happy with, but you don't know how to change it, or you've tried it so many times but you just can't seem to do it because your subconscious mind is not aligned.
Yeah.
And you're fighting your 5% conscious against the 95 subconscious, and I always do that because it is your whole body, isn't it? And it's,
Yeah.
you can't fight it.
No, I do think that there is a growing awareness now. I mean, even the fact that I think a lot of places they focus on wellness for their staff, and trying to incorporate some elements of wellness, just bringing that in. As long as it's not just lip service, it's actually, there's genuine consideration there for the people
Mm.
in that company. But it's creating that little bit of headspace. I think maybe people are starting to realise that people having this time for themselves to have a little bit of introspection when they need it, or making sure people are taking lunch breaks and things like that. I know you've interviewed someone about that and the importance of taking your lunch break, that kind of thing. When I was in corporate, when we were together, I didn't always take a lunch break. I'd sit at my desk.
Too busy, weren't you?
It's too busy, too busy. I'm too important, too busy,
That's what
But
I always say. It's
actually,
that too busy being busy mentality, isn't it?
yeah, but we're not serving ourselves in that respect. So the more awareness that people are getting, I think slowly and surely more change is going to happen. It has that ripple effect, as you mentioned earlier, having that personal awareness to the others around us. And I think also we'll come at these things at different times, and it's not there's not a start line and a finish line. We're all just kind of going at our own pace on our own
Yeah.
journey.
Someone said to me once that the universe will give you nudges, and you take those nudges or you ignore them.
Yeah.
And I believe I've had quite a few nudges now when I look back retrospectively, especially back in, I don't know, 15 years ago. You lose track of time, don't you? Can't believe COVID was like so long ago now. But I don't know, a billion years ago, I trained for the council. I did that for 4 years, but I never actually went out properly. I did it as a volunteer for probably about 3 or 4 years actually, until it became too much for me because I was working full time. But that was a huge, huge nudge to go and do it. But for whatever reason, I didn't. And then 2020, it was like, come on, we're going to give you another opportunity to do this, which fortunately I did carry on with. And I'm so glad I did, because every day I know that I'm doing what I love. And if I can help someone in any way and save their lives, then, because that's what it is, isn't it? And you know this from the work you do, that if you can unstick someone, become unstuck, whatever.
Yeah.
Come on, I only got a few CSEs, give me a break. Then it makes such a difference in people's lives, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love it when I know that I've made even just a small difference. Like even just at the weekend, I received a message from someone saying, "Thank you so much. Your breathing technique helped me all through my birth, and I had a really positive experience." And I thought, oh, that's one person who's had a more empowered experience than I did first time round, which gives me kind of hope as well that their experience into motherhood will be much more positive than mine as well, my initial one. So
and and that's the thing, right? Until I started getting involved in this, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I've still got a huge journey to go on of learning and discovery, but with the work that I'm doing with my clients now, it now as I've continued to work on myself and uncovered what I need to uncover. Don't get me wrong, there's probably more to go, but my sessions now are at a whole new level, literally at a super conscious level, which is, the qualification that I've recently acquired, my diploma as super conscious hypnotherapist, which does, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's just words, right? But basically what it means is we're going deep, real deep. Now, this might be a good little segue now to talk about the client testimonial side that we worked on with you. Now, let's just put this into perspective. As Claire's already said, she has done a lot of work on herself, right, already. However, you still realised that you were stuck, right? Can you just tell us, I mean, obviously you don't have to divulge any personal stuff, but can you just give us an idea of why you said to me, Julie, I need your help?
Yeah, I was having quite a difficult year actually, and I was staying afloat, but I was stuck in one of these loops. Like I couldn't work out. Well, I didn't necessarily know what was holding me back because I guess it was subconscious. Because there's lots of conscious things that I've been aware of that I've been working through, but I didn't know why I was still feeling unable to move forward. And I've been doing my own healing work. I've been working on some ancestral stuff that I've been carrying around. And and I thought, Julie's there.
I've just better her.
I want her to work some magic on me. And I didn't really know what to expect. And you did work magic on me. And, as someone who's tried lots of different things at different times in my life, I know that everyone gives you a different bit of magic. It's like it's like a cold, around me there's a cauldron of people who can do lots of different things, and this coming to you was what I needed last year for the session that we had, because I was just going round and round and round. So, and sometimes even when you do this work, you can't see what it is. You need somebody else to help you to pinpoint what the actual issue is, because it might not be what you think it is. And so the way you asked questions was like, but I can't even remember the questions now, but I remember kind of squirming a little bit thinking, I can't quite avoid this answer. I'm going to have to be really honest.
You can see right through me.
I mean, I'm honest anyway, but I just thought, you're being so direct. I can't wiggle out of it. I've got to be honest with myself, I guess is what I'm getting at. I need to be honest with myself. And so I think that really helped, that you were very much like, let's pinpoint what we need to do and where you're tripping yourself up. But you didn't say it like that. I can't remember how you said it, but it was good. It was really good. The conversation that we had before the the bit where I actually get to lay down.
So what I always like to do is have that preparation session first, where we can really, like you say, like if someone says like, oh, I want to work on this, okay, well what's this then? Well, okay, so it's basically delving a little bit deeper, isn't it, to actually try and find a little bit, okay, so what you're saying is we need to look at the relationships, or we need to look at this, or because when we go into the deep dive session, I need to have a little bit of an idea of what direction we need to go on. We can't just go in there and go, oh, brain, can you just fix Claire? We have to tell it, we have to give it instructions. But the deep dive session is pretty magical, isn't it? And it's quite intense.
Yes. Yeah. So do you want me to? I'll share a little bit about one part that was quite. Well, there's two parts that were quite vivid, but one that was quite remarkable was I had suspicions about something that had happened in my family line, and I'd already been doing some ancestral work. And during the session, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I'm an energy worker as well, so I guess I don't have any barriers, I guess, to drawing some stuff in as well. But I was able to draw in the past, my mother's past. Like, you'd taken me so deep down the line, and you'd connected me to this part and this experience that had happened actually to my mother. And we were able to, you asked these relevant questions to kind of pull out a bit more information when I was in this, connected state with my subconscious and possibly her subconscious. I don't know how that always works, but whatever it was, you did. And we got some answers. And during that, I was having a physical reaction as well. So I remember my throat feeling really tight, and you were asking me questions, and I could my throat was going so tight that my voice was getting more and more kind of like this, and I can't even do it now. And kind of give an example, because I don't even know how it was happening, but my voice was coming out even more like raspy, and it was as if, it was partly around not being, I think, being heard and not being believed, and there was some.
It might have been anger, mightn't it?
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, I can't recall now, but it was all. My body was responding to the clearing that was happening in the session, and kind of, it was just really unexpected, but amazing, the fact that the ancestral stuff was coming out as well in this session with you. I hadn't anticipated it, and I certainly hadn't expected the physical reaction. And I just, like anybody who is listening, I just want to reassure them that it wasn't hurting or anything. It was the way the energy was working, and delivering the message and clearing what needed to be cleared. I've got everything was just as it was meant to be. But that was very, very fascinating. And some of the things that I saw as well, like some white spheres in my hips, cleansing, because I've got trauma, which is another reason why I work with women. I've got trauma around my hips, my pelvis, and my womb space, not just arising from birth, but from childhood as well. And so subconsciously, my body was responding to the session with you and transforming and transmuting this energy on either side of my hips that was creating balance. And it's really interesting, because that's what I like to do with women. In some of the work that I do is all about creating balance between the masculine energy and the feminine energy, but I can't always do it for myself. And again, I hadn't expected this from the session with you, Julie. And so it's really wonderful to receive something from you that potentially I've in the past may have helped some other people with, in terms of the that feminine energy and that feminine, specific for me, feminine healing. So thank you for that. But there were so many other things as well, but those two specific things really stood out for me. It was
a phenomenal
amazing, and I felt great afterwards. And then I think I said to you afterwards, I did a testimonial as well, I think, about the recording that you do as well, like the bespoke recording. And I was listening to that, and every time I listened to it, I was picking up on something else, because you'd paid so much attention to the discussion we'd had and the session. You were able to draw all these specific things for this recording. And I described it as, it's like you smashed through a wall, and then the recording was like just picking up the debris, just clearing that path even more so, like making it even more.
It's lovely analogy.
Making me feel even more unstoppable. So it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
And I loved working with you, and I think the universe kind of knows as like from my perspective, as I'm growing and my experience is growing and my spiritual side is growing, the universe is sending me more complex clients now. And your one was phenomenal, because each time I'm with someone, I'm there and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do with it? And then straight away I just know. And then I'll say something and I'll think, well, where did that come from? And then it'd be, poof, we're on like, it would have been like you were saying about the questioning. I think, if I remember rightly, when you were doing all of this, I was like, oh, what is that? Is that yours or is it someone else's? No, it's not mine. It's my mum's. That's how it, like, I mean, like you say, how it all works. We don't even worry about how it works, but it just does, doesn't it? And it's so, and this is the thing, like, life throws us challenges all the time. But if you think about it, if you don't work on yourself and free yourself from things that are stuck that you don't even know you're stuck with, this is the point, right? That was all holding you back, but you wouldn't have known consciously what that was until you dive into your subconscious mind. But if you hadn't have decided at that point that you wanted me to help you, you would still be in that cycle, wouldn't you? How do you think, what are you doing now, do you think, that you couldn't have done before the session? Or what's changed?
Interestingly, some of the situation between my mum and I has changed. I'm probably not going to go into in detail because that's my mum's story.
Yeah.
But something has changed there and shifted there. And so that's one aspect that has changed. And I have been feeling really confident since our session as well. And when I listen to the recording that you made, it's like it tops me up again. I still believe there's still things to work on. There always is, and I'm one of those people in life that will always want to continue becoming a better version of myself. But I do feel that I have been a lot more confident, and I want to say a lot more balanced. My energy has been more balanced, and I'm going through some changes at the moment, and I just think it's helping me to be a bit more level-headed about things. So yeah, it's really difficult to pinpoint these things, isn't it? Because I feel that it's probably had micro effects as well as a macro effect, and you don't always know what those micro effects are. But they're until maybe another 6 months down the line, and I look back and I'm like, well, actually, this is how much things have changed. So yeah, so did I answer the question? I can't remember. I digressed.
I think you're right, though. I get this a lot with clients, right? When we do the preparation session, and a lot of what I do in the preparation session is deliberate in the sense of I'm providing tools that we can compare where you are and where you are now, right? So we go through like the intake form, and there's other tools that I normally use, because quite often they'll come back. So we do a particular package, system, process, whatever you want to call it, would be we work together before to go really deep, find out what's really going on, fill some forms in and all that kind of stuff. Then on another day we do the deep dive session, which can be done face to face as yours was, or we can actually do it online as well. It works perfectly well either way. So there's no barrier with distance or time zones or anything like that. I've worked with someone in Australia or Taiwan, it really doesn't matter. Right? It really doesn't matter. So then we do what we call the deep dive session, where we go digging. We go digging and finding out what we're finding. The root is what we're doing, basically. So when we talk about something, you might trim the roots back, but you're not getting to the root, so it will grow back. So we're digging to find out what we want to do, and then we're going to find it, and then we're going to get rid of it, right? And then you have the recording, which is basically sowing seeds. So if you imagine that you're a shrub, you've got all these weeds hanging off you. We've not only cut them back, we've dug the root out, and now we're sprinkling some magic stardust, and this is your new powerful you, and this is where you start to grow with this strong, positive confidence and all of that, right? And that, you go away and listen to that for 21 days at least, don't you? So that embeds, because that's a minimum amount of time that you can embed new change, right? And then we get back and we talk about it. And quite often I go, in the initial chat with them, I go, how do you feel? Oh, I don't think nothing's changed. And you're like, oh, right, okay. So then we get the forms out. Oh, right. Oh, God, yeah. You know, and it, but confidence and things like that.
You went for that job and you got it, did you? And
oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
well, you
and this
applied for it in the first place. And it happened. I'll never forget one lady. We did confidence as well, actually. And when we first got on the call, we were just chit chatting. And one of the things that she was stuck on was moving her business forward. And she went, oh God, yeah, I've been so busy. I've been doing all this. Right, okay. So let's crack on then, and let's. So what do you think's changed then? Oh, nothing really. Well, but you've just spent the last 10 minutes telling me that. Oh my God, you're right. You know, because sometimes it's just not so bleeding obvious. You know, like if someone says like, I can't walk out the front door, and they do the session and then they can walk out the front door, or I've done a few fear of flying and they've been on a flight, and it's easier to measure, isn't it? But when it's very confidently based, or you know, something like that, it's quite difficult to realise you put it to the test, because they go, well, I haven't done anything to test me yet.
Yeah, you just reminded me as well, because one of the things at the time was that I wasn't following up with people, and I was like not necessarily putting myself out there as much as I could have been. And then after that, I was like, actually, I've got no qualms about following up with somebody. So that just kind of was so like this, so quick, that actually it's almost like I can't believe that I wasn't in that state beforehand. So you kind of forget very quickly your old behaviour, I guess, because you're able to just, you know, turn that switch for people that quickly, that then they think that that's normal, even though you haven't been doing it.
Absolutely right, and that's quite common. People do that. I remember, never forget, in the beginning, I was doing someone who had fear of driving, and I was like, how are you getting on? Yeah, I was just getting in the car. She was looking at me as if I was crazy. Why are you asking me? Well, because, really? Was I like that? You know? But basically, you're changing, we're clearing the neuro pathways, right? So where something was stuck, it's a little bit like, you know, like when you've got a hose pipe and you've got the kink in it and the water's not coming out, and you unkink it and then it all starts spraying. It's a little bit like that, really, isn't it? But you've got all these different neuro pathways, and some of them have got a kink in them, and you just need to clear them. But because it's got a kink, when something happens, it goes straight to that, and you get stuck in that kink. But now you're free flowing, your energy's flowing, right? If we want to do it in energy ways.
Yeah, which I love, obviously. Yeah, exactly. You just flow. That's what makes it. You know, it's Yeah, so I'll keep getting a little picture in my mind of Ganesh. Ganesh is like the remover of all obstacles. It's like, you know, those obstacles are just out of the way and you've got your really clear path ahead. So, yeah, you've got that hose pipe is unkinked.
Yeah, that's a good little analogy, that, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah.
I have a little analogy that I thought about, but I think it depends on how old you are, or whether it's still available. I'm not sure. The game Kaplunk. Do you remember Kaplunk? So that's, for those that are not sure, it's a game where it was kind of a bit of a tubey type game, wasn't it? And you have little sticks and marbles, and you have all these sticks crisscrossed in here, and you put the marbles on top. And the whole point of the game is you take in turns, and you've got to pull a stick out without dropping the marbles. However, in my little analogy, it's a little bit different, because what we want to do, we absolutely want to drop those marbles, right? So you want them to go, so we're pulling out the sticks that are stuck. And that might be one session. You might pull out a few sticks and drop a few marbles, not mental ones, but you might need a couple more where you need to drop more, but you might get the whole marble drop straight away. You don't know, do you? You don't know what you need to clear. Or another analogy is like if your body's an energy, like a water wheel, isn't it? And if you've got sticks that are stuck in it and it keeps stopping the wheel from, you know, you release the sticks, and once you're free of it, then your energy can flow around your body, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
it is like magic. Someone said to me before, God, it's just like magic. And I'm like, yeah, actually it is. It feels like that. I come out of sessions sometimes and my clients are like, oh my God, I can't believe that's just happened. But it's like magic. And they do quite a lot. I go, it's like magic.
it
And I
is
go,
like magic.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I love
it
that.
is,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, I love it.
It
And I
is.
like. It's interesting as well what you were saying about that analogy with the plunk. Like some of these things are layers. So
Yes.
you might get to a certain point with, oh, I'm a lot more confident driving now. I'm a lot more, I'm doing this, and then something else might come up in life, and you think, oh, how am I going to overcome this? Like, why can I not get past this point? So and there'll be another layer
Mm.
potentially of something subconsciously, another experience that you wouldn't even correlate with your confidence in doing something or whatever it might be, public speaking or something. And it's, again, for me, what I love is it just keeps you expanding.
Mm.
But
That's a very,
I don't know.
very good
Sometimes
point.
I don't know if I'm you. Not everybody is like me, I guess. Well, they obviously won't be, but I just, to me, it's always about expansion
Mm.
and becoming this newer, better version, more informed person, more open-minded person, more balanced person, and so I'm always seeking, what do I need to do next to better myself or my situation, and I guess that's why I feel that in some ways these experiences with someone like yourself, they can continue to keep adding more and more value each time that you do them, because each time you're going to remove a layer that's stopping you from moving forward as fully as you should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally
It's
agree with you.
brilliant.
Totally agree with you. And it is about, and this is what sometimes happens, isn't it? You go, well, okay, well, I was really anxious about something and I've cleared that. Now I feel fearful about this. Well, surely that's just, I thought you helped me with that. You go, yeah, well, we did. But as you go, I like to use the onion analogy. You peel back one or two layers of the onion, but now it's raw. Now you need to live with that for a bit and see. And because you're, like you said, because you're pushing yourself to the next level, you're not going backwards. You're just hitting something else new. And if you're not hitting those new things and feeling like that, then it means you're not living your life, quite frankly, because it means you're cruising.
Yeah.
Having that sense of a little bit of uncomfortableness, not hugely, but that means you're growing. And then you work on that, and then you move forward again and again and again. And that's what we've both done over, our journeys. I'm like you, I can't help learning now. I never felt like that with anything ever before. This is why I know I found my calling, and the more I'm doing it, the better and better and better results I'm getting. I got phenomenal results back in the day, but now it's like, oh my God, it's like,
Yeah. Even I'm amazed at what I've just been able to
yeah, I
get this
do. I
person
come
with.
out of
Yeah,
those
it's
sessions and
brilliant.
I'm like,
Yeah.
geez, where did that come from?
Yeah,
And I won't lie, I've sat in them before and I'm like, right, what do I do now?
yeah,
And then I
yeah,
just trust. And as I said
yeah,
earlier, like a question will just pop out my mouth, and I'm like, okay. And then that shoots it down a whole
yeah,
rabbit warren, if you like.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's,
then yeah, I just love it, and I get so excited when I start talking about it because it just really lights me up. But
yeah,
what's frustrating, it's just wanting to get this message out there so that both of us can help more people, because you don't have to live your life stuck. I
yeah,
don't know how many
yeah,
times I can tell you this.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, some people are quite content, aren't they? And I accept that some people they're happy with how things are, but it's the people that aren't happy with their situation and they don't know which way to turn. They're the kind of people that when they start to come to someone like yourself and could help them become unstuck, because their mind is kind of become not closed off, but quite rigid in its beliefs and what that person is capable of and what choices they actually can make. Well, until you start to open up a few of those doorways and see what else there is and what could be possible, you're going to potentially find it quite difficult to step out of that little box that you've put yourself on. So you have to do some internal work to get yourself unstuck.
I mean, not everybody knows about this stuff, do they? That's the issue. So you don't, if you don't know, you don't know. You don't ask questions, and it's about having that emotional intelligence around it, isn't it? And a lot of people just have never come across it. And this is why I would love, so if anyone's watching, if you can get me into the corporate world to start talking to your staff, I'd absolutely love that, because I've got 35 years experience of being in that world, and now I've got this other world that I can help with. So let's get in, and let's, like you was alluding to earlier, Claire, let's get in and help people to work in this environment, but to be looking after themselves too. And you're going to get the best out of your staff anyway, because they're going to be happier, they're going to be more fulfilled, and it's like it is a two-way street, isn't it? And I think a lot of the time, and I hear it all the time, even this week in my group program, like I've got people working in the corporate world in that, and they're like, oh, I know we've done this, but I've forgotten it again, and now I've got caught up in it again because it's so busy. But yeah, that's not your life. That's just, it is a job, right? You have to put yourself first, because if you don't, then you're going to get sick, and then you can't work, you can't look after your family. So you have to keep your glass full. Otherwise, you're useless to everybody, including yourself. And I'm so passionate about it; it just drives me insane, really.
Yeah, and what you're saying is that people need to maintain a balance, right? And also the fact that you were in corporate for 35 years, you know the challenges that they're facing, trying to carve out some time for themselves. But you also can see the benefit of when they do start to carve out even just a little bit of time for themselves, the kind of transformations that can start to happen for them. And they'll be more, I'm guessing they'll be more productive at work. They'll be able to put themselves forward for more things, or communicate in a different way that is, assertive but with a boundary, or which will benefit everybody around them and the companies they're working at, because they're going to be a better version of themselves as they go into their workspace.
And you're not going to have such a big turnover either, because some people know they're not happy, so they're always looking for the next shiny penny. But maybe that shiny penny is where you are, but you just don't know that. And because if you've got issues going on in here, going to another job is not going to get rid of them. You're just going to be moving it. In the same way with relationships, you might have a continual cycle of failed relationships. Well, guess what? If you don't fix inside, you're just going to keep having that cycle of broken relationships. I mean, I feel like me and you, Claire, this feels like it should be we should have a proper podcast all about this. Right?
There's so much we can talk about,
isn't there? And before, we need to start wrapping up now, because I'm going to get told off that this is going to, video is going to be too long. So, just quickly tell us, Claire, about what you've got coming up, because I know you've got an exciting project coming up called the Rose Academy, haven't you?
I have, yes. I am really excited about the Rose Academy. I've wanted to do something around womb wisdom for a long time, something to empower women and to help them understand more about I call it your sacred seat of power. It correlates with our ability to give and receive, and I particularly am interested in people's womb stories, so what they're carrying around with them that they need to release. And the Rose Academy is actually myself and 3 other amazing women. And I'll get now I'm talking about it, I'm really excited, because myself and these 3 other women have got like decades of experience with what we're doing. We've all been on our own journeys as well for the last couple of decades. And together, between the 4 of us, we're hoping to walk alongside some other women that need to, I might not even realise they need to actually, but what need that balance in their life. So perhaps they're on the edge of burnout and they need to have a bit more form and so a bit more flow within the form and the structure of their lives. So if myself, I'll be doing some energy healing work and some really powerful blessings and meditations, all to do with the womb story and releasing trauma and in giving and receiving. We've got another Clare. She's a shamanic practitioner. She's going to be holding some beautiful space as well. I've got Rushna. She's a menstruality coach and she empowers women in leadership. So she's going to be fantastic. And Lauren is a qigong practitioner, I guess is the word, and she also does other healing modalities as well. So a lot of her stuff is somatic. So we're taking women on this whole 13-week journey of exploring what feminine energy is to them and how they can embrace it to help them going forward in their lives. I haven't done it justice at all because I'm
you've done a good job.
Not too great at that, but it's going to be, I'm so excited about it. Even though I've been on this journey myself for however many years, 15, 20 years of my own personal healing of my feminine story, her story, I call it, instead of his story. I'm excited about what I'm going to learn from the other women as well, because between us, we cover so many different bases and we've got so many tools to share with people that's going to help them and empower them on the rest of their journey beyond the 13 weeks. It's just going to be brilliant. So
I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
Really excited for you and anyone else that goes on it. And we haven't had time to talk about my sessions with Clare, so what I will do is do another quick session with Clare and cover off how she's helped me too. But thank you, Clare, for being with me today. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you for agreeing to come and work with me as well, and more importantly, to come and share your story on here. And I feel totally blessed that so many of my clients come back and give back to me and to all of you to share the work that we've done. And I know I don't take that for granted because I know it's a huge thing to do. And I'm so grateful for you for doing that for me as well, my lovely.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for helping me. And I'm glad that we reconnected. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching, and I look forward to seeing you with my next Unstoppable interview series. Take care, and if you want to speak to either of us, by the way, obviously you'll be able to connect with Clare from here as well. But if you're watching it on a YouTube channel, then we'll put Clare's details, both our details in there. So please connect with either one of us or both of us. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please go and look on my YouTube channel for all my other interviews as well. And just as a reminder, you can come and work with me in my group program or on a one-to-one basis. So, or get me speaking in the corporate world or in your business as well. That would be amazing too. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.